Hello, everybody. Today, I'm actually very excited because I'm out here in LA and we're visiting my friend's company called Standstill Tea, operated by Wei Chow and Tiff. And funny story is, I actually did not know that they were running a tea business because I actually shot their wedding. Yeah, I had no idea that they operate a tea business. I reached out to Wei Chow and asked if I can kind of just explore his offerings and see kind of what the tea world has to offer because coming from coffee, I do know that there's a huge tea community, especially with like the rise of matcha too these days. In terms of my offering, I kind of want to stay up to date. I want to continuously be like innovating. Just wanted to bring you guys along today because I just figured it's cool, it's cool to see like how these partnerships happen, how coffee businesses like myself end up even carrying tea to begin with. So I'm really excited, and I just wanted to bring you guys along today. This is probably going to go on YouTube because I just realized I'm recording horizontally, and that's okay. But yeah, I'm really excited. Hope you guys can stay because it's going to be fun.
Wood fire Kyushu side handle teapot. My favorite pick for this sourcing trip. It's clay, but wood firing means that the clay goes into the kiln unglazed. So all these colors that you see, it's not from glaze that's been put onto the ceramic, but it's from the wood ash falling onto the ceramics at over 1,000 degrees Celsius, and the ash glassifies and forms colors. Yeah, every single one's one of one. You can't really control how it turns out. It just depends on the placement inside the kiln. This one's really cool. It has like a little kintsugi right here and some really nice kiln sweats. We call these kiln sweats because it's like the ash sweating onto the pieces.
Oh.
It's like almost salty. All right, so we'll start with this one. It's called Angel Baby Type T. So this is a collab with one of our friends' Taiwanese bands. So their band is called Angel Baby. And it's kind of a play on word in Chinese. So this is the second year we've done Angel Baby Type T, and it's always a baozhong oolong. So it's a Taiwanese oolong that's kind of more on the greener side. So it's kind of like grassy and floral, nutty. So
Oh wow.
yeah, so we usually always
Oh, I love
we
it.
always heat up the vessel, and then once the brewing vessel is warm, when you pour in the tea, you can really get the dry aromas,
Yeah.
and it's kind of where the tasting starts.
What do you guys particularly look for when you guys are like sourcing tea or even tasting tea? Like, what's like your guys' favorite characteristic of the tea, or like what do you guys look for?
Okay, so for me, you're looking either for like the first impression, you're looking for really good tea that blows you away, or just like the person, right? You're kind of like sussing out the tea maker's vibe, and you kind of are trying to figure out what they're in it for. So we try really hard to work with people that give this as much like intention as we try to. So yeah, first impression, we're just kind of like seeing if we vibe well with the person. And then otherwise, there is kind of like a tea grading process, similar to like cupping coffee. So, for example, this baozhong oolong, there's probably like 100 people that make thousands of different like similar baozhongs. So you're basically tasting between a bunch of teas that are basically the same. So the cupping, you're basically like pushing the tea all the way to where it starts showing like bad qualities, and you're basically looking out for bad qualities. So burnt flavor, sour flavor, flavors that shouldn't really be there. You're looking for those, and that kind of helps you weed out what's not good.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw that you only steeped it for like 30 seconds.
It's really
right?
fast.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It gives you, like, a
So
mental note.
so yeah. That I feel like that's
It's
a
like
big
a,
thing.
it's like a feel with tea.
That's a big thing with
Sick.
coffee and tea, where like coffee is like super precise, and then tea, it's more about being present. So you want to get better over time at like just making tea without any like skills or any other kind of tools, and it's just kind of like connecting you with the tea leaf, basically.
You know what I love about that is because when we first went to China and Taiwan, when we were right before we started the tea company, we had so many tea sessions and with so many different people making you tea, and they all taste good, and it's like such good quality tea, so it's never going to be like bitter or bad, but they all taste a little different based on how the person is brewing it, because it is kind of like a feel, you know, which I love.
So-
It's got like a lot of character and like dynamics in that way.
It's actually really cool.
It is really cool.
Yeah. It's less sterile like that, for sure.
Yeah. That's probably one of like the top of mind. That's always one of the main differences, right? That I kind of tell people. I mean, even when we make coffee, it's like you switch your gears. Like we're really precise, you know. So.
Yeah, but even in coffee, it's like it's the same thing in the sense that it starts from the moment you like plant the tea tree, all the way down to like when you actually make the tea. And there's so many processes, right? And there's so many steps in between that at any moment something can go wrong with somebody during that step or whatever it is. So yeah, they all kind of count, you know, all the way down to here.
It's really cool.
Yeah. I think when I enjoy coffee too, like I like think about how the fact that it's good is crazy. Yeah, because like you said, like at any point it could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
So for you to be sitting there like enjoying a cup that's like delicious to you, that's a crazy thing. That like even though it went through all those hands,
It's
That's pretty
amazing.
crazy.
it's like it turns out great.
All right, so this one, what do you taste?
First brew.
So it is really light, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of actually the sweetness comes out, and like even I mean a lot of the time when I drink coffee, the biggest thing I look for is sweetness
Yeah.
and no astringency, and I'm not getting any of that in this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, stringency
I
is
actually
big.
really enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of tea was this?
Oolong. So it's like a green oolong, which means that it's a lightly oxidized oolong. So oolong tea is all semi-oxidized.
What
Green.
is oxidation?
It's literally just when you pick the tea leaf from the tree, how long you let it kind of sit out before there's a step called kill green. It's directly translated from Chinese, so I guess it makes a little more sense from in the Chinese sense, but you're basically, it's more of a locking in the greenness, the kill green step, right? So you're locking in the oxidation level with that step, and it's usually with some sort of like heat treatment, whether it's like pan frying the tea or steaming the tea, like a lot of Japanese teas, or baking it. You're basically taking out the majority of the moisture from the tea leaf and then locking in the oxidation level. So with green tea, you pick the leaf. Green tea is completely unoxidized. So you're picking the tea leaf, and then really shortly after that, there might be like a really quick few hours kind of withering process where you let the tea kind of like naturally evaporate water, and then as it's naturally evaporating, it starts oxidizing a little bit, right? But you're not really letting the tea leaf get to that point, and then you do this kill green process really fast. So within the same day, within a few hours. Black tea is completely oxidized tea, so you're basically letting it sit out and wither and almost like slightly ferment a little bit before you do this kill green process. So
is it all the same leaf?
it could be all the same leaf.
Depending on how you treat it is what makes it green, black.
It's the process.
Yeah. Camellia sinensis. That's
That's cool.
But
That's the tea
then
plant.
obviously it's like with coffee, right, or wine, where certain varietals live better in different regions, and people figure that out over time, and then people figure out you know, if I have this varietal in this region, these are kind of like the really desirable flavors, and how do I process the tea to bring out those flavors? Or almost like, do I make a green tea with this? Do I make a black tea with this? Oolong tea. So these things kind of like take a lot of time to figure out. And it's like very established, right? So now it's like there's specific regions where they only make oolongs or green teas, just because, you know, for hundreds of years, that's what they've done and they've really perfected that. But then now you also see a lot of like experimental stuff of like, you know, a green tea making region might make some black tea or white teas.
Yeah, it's really
And,
interesting.
yeah.
They're really good.
A lot of them are good. A lot of them are like just different. And like if you're really trying to compare like from a really technical standpoint, it might not be as good.
Right.
But yeah, the different part of it is really cool.
It's cool to see it
just,
evolve.
Like, drives everything forward a little bit. Yeah.
It's just like the, you know, tea generations or tea farms have like generations, and it's cool to see like the younger generations trying to do a little derivative of it, you know.
I've been noticing like the experimental stuff is what is also drawing in newer audiences. Yeah, because even with
In
coffee,
tea or coffee?
I mean, I don't know much for tea, but at least for coffee,
For sure.
it's like there's like the co-ferment, where you're like fermenting the bean with like a fruit.
100%,
So
yeah.
it imparts the flavor onto the beans. But then like avid coffee enthusiasts are like, oh, this is like tainted, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it helps to like draw newer people in of like, oh, this coffee can
kinda
actually
interesting.
taste like this.
Yeah.
It's
Just
really
like
cool.
that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Just makes it fun.
It is cool. It's just like different techniques. I feel like as long as they have a purpose behind it, that's not like scamming people or like saving money, cutting costs. I feel like usually it's cool, because then we're just talking about, you know, being creative.
How many times can you usually go through these leaves?
We try to do at least 5 times. Yeah. Ultimately, it depends on how much tea you're using and how big your brewing vessel, like how much water it holds.
Yeah.
You're looking at least a 15-to-1 tea to water ratio. So usually it's about 8 grams of tea to like 100 milliliters of water. So that's 100 divided by 8 is 12. There we go.
So 1 to 12
that makes more sense. Yeah. Anything below 1 to 15. So it's a really high ratio. So that also is why like we're clearing out the water so fast. But it's to kind of facilitate this multiple brew situation. You know, as you add time each brew, and sometimes when you add more temperature, you're extracting, you know, different chemical compounds from the tea leaf as you go.
Are you maintaining the same temperature all the time?
For the most part, for a lot of teas for us now, we just try to go as hot as possible.
The boiling?
Yeah. I think for us, like if the tea could handle boiling temperature, we just do boiling. Yeah. And like some like new white teas and new raw pu'ers and green teas are kind of probably the only teas that we would lower our temperature for, because they're kind of more green and more astringent. So you want to minimize that a little bit.
What are you using for this? Because this is also
Just boiling.
green oil. Yeah, that's surprisingly not bad. I used to be real intricate, and like I would still use a lower temp for that, but
Yeah. A lot of times when you use
not
lower
necessary.
temp for this, you actually are losing out on a lot of
exactly.
flavors.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is kind of like, you know, a lot of people say tea ceremony, but for us, it's just kind of like a traditional Asian way of drinking tea. I feel like a lot of Asian cultures have something like this, where it's more about slowing down and sitting and drinking tea for like a prolonged period of time. In China, right, we call this Gong Fu tea. So it's just kind of it basically translates to making tea with craft or skill or effort. Yeah, so basically everything I just explained, right, now you put it into this context, you kind of understand like as you're making each brew, the tea kind of changes over time. Each time you're extracting different parts of the tea. So it creates this experience or it creates this journey that the tea takes you on. So every time you drink a cup, it's slightly different, but you really have to be focused and
You
present.
need to lock in.
Yeah, you need to be locked in
Lock in.
for you to really notice it.
That's why in standstill we always like kind of spread the message of just like taking a moment. Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't know dispensing water.
I know.
So there's a lot of fancy tea gadgets.
Wow, that's epic.
Yeah.
It's very fun, yeah.
Where's it getting the water from?
There's like a 5-gallon
Oh
jug
my
right here.
gosh,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
I know. Honestly, the tea culture has some of the best gadgets and like tea
Wow.
accessories I've ever seen. It's so cool.
What would you say is like the biggest difference between the different variations of tea? Between like the black, green. You're saying white? White
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest difference is like, I mean, obvious answer, but the flavor. And then they make you feel differently. So it's like, how do you know which tea to drink when? That's kind of like, if it's like daytime, it is a perfect time of day to drink this green oolong. Maybe we wouldn't reach for it if it was like, a post-dinner drink. Maybe for post-dinner, we'll do something more like a roasted oolong, or that's really when we drink the fermented oolongs. I mean, the fermented teas.
Yeah.
The caffeine amount different too?
Yeah.
The caffeine amount's different. There's other compounds. Tea polyphenols. Theanine is a really famous one.
Yeah, people are taking like
yeah.
theanine pills.
So even this whole thing of like when to drink what tea, right? It's not just about the caffeine content. It's not just about even caffeine or theanine together, but it's about all those things, and then also the energy of the tea. We call it cha qi, right? The air of the tea, the energy, and then that relates to TCM and like
Traditional
how
Chinese medicine.
yeah, so how certain teas have either like a cooling energy or a warming energy, and like so then it's like it becomes very like poetic, and then over time as you understand these philosophies more, it's easier to understand of like when you should be drinking what tea. But then there is kind of like a flow to that, right? Like in the morning, if you drink matcha on an empty stomach, like it'll fuck your stomach up. And like a lot of times like people throw up off of that, but it's because like matcha is already really cooling. It's already a really harsh kind of thing for humans to ingest. So first thing in the morning with nothing else in your stomach, your body just can't handle it, right? Whereas like if you drink something more darker and like roasted, those things are more like warming. It's actually like good for your body. It's like soothing. So there's a lot of like these kind of things that I feel like as Asians we understand a little bit more, but it gets really a lot of that gets lost if you're just like, oh, just caffeine and theanine or whatever it is. Yeah.
That's true.
Similar concept, right? It's green tea that's been infused with aromas from a flower. This is made the traditional way, and traditionally you use real flowers. So when you dry the green tea, right now it's completely finished dried green tea. Those kind of tea leaves, they're still really absorbent of moisture. So when you lay out, so it'll absorb anything in the room, right? So when you lay out fresh flowers, it'll absorb the moisture and the flavor from the fresh flowers. So basically you do that, right? You lay the tea out, you put a fresh bed of flowers on top, and then you let that absorb for, probably half a day or whatever. And then you remove the flowers, and you have to do that a couple more times. Yeah.
Cool.
Do you have a particular way of pouring? Think that you're hitting the walls.
I'm trying to just not hit the tea leaves too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially, I mean, this is kind of more, with green tea, it's more delicate. So I'm already using lower temperature. And then, especially a lot of other teas, if you're using like boiling temperature, you don't want to go right onto the tea leaves with the boiling temperature.
Want to like gently soak it.
Yeah.
It's such a labor of love.
So this
I
reminds
know,
me
it
of
smells
like
fake.
co-fermentation, right? Where like even with jasmine tea, because it's so popular,
It's crazy.
like 95% of the jasmine tea out here, it's fake, right? So it's they would, so if you see this tea, it's just the tea leaves.
Yeah.
So basically traditionally with flower scented tea, you do the process I just said, and then you remove the flowers every single time, right? So at the end, you're just selling the tea leaves. That's the end product. It's not tea leaves blended with flower. So a lot of times with the Western tea market, when you see like a jasmine tea, it's green tea with jasmine flowers inside. And then when you go to smell the dry leaf, you get this like super pungent kind of like floral jasmineness. And that's because they will use really bad quality tea leaf. They add the flower. That's probably also questionable for like the visuals. And then they would spray jasmine flavoring onto the tea leaves. So you get this like visual and like scent kind of sensory. It kind of makes you feel like, oh, this is legit. But real flower scented tea, a lot of people don't make it anymore because it's so tedious. But this is how it's supposed to feel like, right? It gives you this like full floral flavor.
It's crazy strong.
Yeah, but it's not like fake or overpowering.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, question for you then. Do you feel like, so with these like more experimental stuff, do you feel like taste wise, it's kind of compromised, or? Because at least for cold ferment, I do agree that it's compromised. There's like a weird aftertaste I just don't like.
Oh, interesting.
But with this, I mean, I don't know much about tea, but it tastes great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say it's not compromised then, or?
I would say no.
Yeah.
I would say no, especially this. This is kind of like already a traditional method. So there's like a space for this already in the tea kind of like world. These people just use a different flower, and it kind of worked. But I think you can maybe, that's a good conversation. Because I've also had cold fermented coffees, and I'm just like, what the hell? This tastes like melons, right?
Yeah.
This one tastes like blueberries. You're just like, what the fuck?
That's crazy.
I know.
Yummy.
I mean, I guess a better question then is like, can you drink this every day?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
As long as you're like, that's more preference. If you like love this floral flavor, you totally can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't drink this every day.
Yeah.
Just because another thing with tea is just like there's so many variety.
Yeah.
So I feel like the fun part is to change it up
Different.
every day based on how you feel, right? Based on the time of the day.
Yeah, it's crazy because the aromatics is like the candy.
Mm-hmm.
The taste is like seaweed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
trippy.
Yeah, a lot of tea smells and flavors don't really match up.
They're different.
But that's kind of
The beauty of it too.
that's the beauty of it. That's how you can tell it's a really good tea. Like really good tea is supposed to have layers of flavors and smells. But they're supposed to be all very pleasant and not kind of like muddy, clear and present. But yeah, Taiwanese oolongs, right, characterized by the way they pluck, the way they harvest. It's usually the bud with like 3 to 5 more leaves with the stem on, and they process it as is like this, and then they would roll it into a small ball. So this is called red oolong. So it's also from Taiwan. It's a slightly different region, but it's more or less the same kind of tea. It has not been bug bitten, but it's way more oxidized. So it's oxidized close to a black tea, so almost full oxidation, and then it has a slightly more heavier roast on it.
Okay.
This is the one I was saying is really good in a milk tea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I almost like when I just, ooh, look at that handwork. What are you doing? It's amazing.
So
It
way more
smells
dark,
like milk
way
tea.
richer. Yeah, has like a
me, yeah.
molasses kind of.
It
Yeah.
already has milk in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like I've said it so much that now when I smell it, I've just like brainwashed myself.
I try to get this like tornado.
Tornado.
It's so
It's
fun.
like this. It's the soju.
Yeah.
Soju. So funny. Okay, flags.
Have you seen the Gong Fu tea videos on Instagram or like on TikTok, where it's like the girls that like are dressed in the traditional, but then they're like super like brutal with it, and they like throw that shit and then it spins. I'm trying to figure out how to do
That's
this.
like a next level tea.
This shit's